Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star 2, Land of Origin based on novel. So let's start. After practicing the transformation method, Luo Feng's godly body became like the most terrifying weapon. His fingers, sharp and containing boundless might, easily penetrated the chest of the envoy of the Snow Realm. Luo Feng, who stepped out from the void, was quite surprised. Is the envoy of the Snow Realm so fragile? Mechanical treasures like Heart Devil Kite, Demon General of Heart Shadow, and Envoy of the Snow Realm were reputed in the outside world to be on par with Primal Chaos Realm weapon secret treasures, renowned for their toughness. But in this moment, as Luo Feng's palm pierced through, he confirmed the true defensive capabilities of the Envoy of the Snow Realm. The material of this Envoy of the Snow Realm is at the bottom among the weapon secret treasures of the Primal Chaos Realm. Plus, because it is a mechanical treasure made of mechanical parts, its stability is even worse, Luo Feng assessed as he pierced through, fully ascertaining the strengths and weaknesses of the Envoy of the Snow Realm. An eternal true god definitely couldn't break this Envoy of the Snow Realm, but any slightly formidable being from the Primal Chaos Realm could damage it. Slightly inferior materials, slightly worse stability. But it is very complexly made, allowing a group of the weak to burst forth with great strength. A single Envoy of the Snow Realm is worth as much as an ordinary Primal Chaos Realm weapon secret treasure, roughly around 200 million cosmic sand, Luo Feng said, accurate in his valuation, with detailed intelligence from his master, Mountain Sitting Guest. After all, his master used to sell these. Buzz. As Luo Feng's fingers pierced into the chest of the Envoy of the Snow Realm, he immediately sensed all the manipulators within the Envoy. A leader, 36 assisting eternal true gods, and 49,000 true gods of void space were all in a state of endless fear at this moment. Reeking of blood. Luo Feng could feel the blood-stained scent deeply ingrained in the souls of the leader, Liu Yinyang, and the 36 eternal true gods. They were disciples directly under the ancestral god of the Snow Realm, and practiced the bloodline of blood dharma. The 49,000 true gods of void space, however, didn't have much of a blood scent. They were not yet qualified to learn the emperor-level inheritance. After all, cultivation requires the consumption of a vast amount of blood food, and the consumption of blood food by beings from the Primal Chaos Realm and numerous eternal true gods was already enormous, not enough to go around. Thus, true gods of void space were naturally forbidden to use blood food. In desperation, some of the lower ranks, who erred, could also end up as blood food. To be born in the Snow Realm, indeed, it's a lament for you all. Luo Feng had no killing intent towards those 49,000 true gods of void space. He was well aware of the pitiable state of the middle and lower tiers within the Snow Realm. Born in that territory, even thinking of escape was futile. Buzz. Luo Feng's thoughts were lightning fast. As his hand pierced the chest of the Envoy of the Snow Realm, he seized the leader Liu Yinyang in his palm, while an invisible fluctuation swept across the 36 assisting eternal true gods, causing each of them to perish. At the same time, he expelled all 49,000 true gods of void space, each tumbling away into the distance. Piercing the chest, damaging a section of the chest components to fix, and it'll still be usable. It might fetch a decent price. Luo Feng collected the figure of the Envoy of the Snow Realm. After all, being poor, the envoy valued at roughly 2 billion was still worth cherishing. Luo Feng then looked at the young man in the blood-red robe Liu Yinyang held within his palm. As Liu Yinyang was grasped within the palm, he looked up to see the familiar figure in a black robe. Luo Feng at this moment looked indifferently at the blood-robed youth, as if he were looking at filthy trash. Luo he. Liu Yinyang couldn't believe it. You've broken through to the Primal Chaos Realm. Piercing the Envoy of the Snow Realm with one hand, that was certainly not something an eternal true god could achieve. Luo Feng stood above the Fengyi district, clutching Liu Yinyang in his hand, a scene that naturally everyone witnessed. Lord Luo he's reached the primal chaos realm. On the side of the city owner's mansion, General Yue Wu, General Yonghu, and various other eternal true gods were all shocked. Too many eternal true gods longed to take that step. Even General Yue Wu, who was publicly recognized as a future primal chaos realm being, still had an unknown time of arrival. Now, they who thought they knew Lord Luo he well, saw him truly become a primal chaos realm being. He turned out to be a primal chaos realm being, the Dream Flower Tower Master muttered to himself in a whisper. Was he always a primal chaos realm being? Or is he a newly advanced one? Lord of Huyang City also pondered in secret. My master, he is a primal chaos realm being. Moyu Qingyang was somewhat stunned, and Morosa chuckled as he looked at Moyu Qingyang. Billions of creatures of the Fengyi district were the most excited, watching the scene above where Luo Feng held Liu Yinyang in one hand with both gratitude and excitement. We've survived. My father, mother, wife, and all my children have survived. My fellow disciples, my clan, they all survived. The Fengyi district was home to a myriad of different clans, and even some small sects and forces, all of whom had now survived. That is Lord Luo he. Billions of creatures, the vast majority of whom did not recognize Luo Feng. Yet some true gods of void space, with some knowledge of the information, recognized at a glance that the figure high above was indeed Luo Feng. It was Lord Luo he who saved my entire clan. Many cultivators felt tremendous gratitude. Young Master Yang has been captured, the 36 eternal true gods are all dead, am I free now? The 49,000 true gods of void space, scattered in all directions, each had different thoughts at this moment. Being born in the realm of the Snow Realm, they were deprived of the right to choose from the very beginning, compelled to serve the massive power of the Snow Realm. Even some who failed would become sources of blood food. Leaving here, I will never return to the Snow Realm, a true god of void space left silently. The envoy of the Snow Realm has been taken away. How will we return to the Snow Realm? There were also some true gods of void space devoutly loyal to the Snow Realm, still thinking of returning. But Yu Kingdom was too far from the Snow Realm. They could only hope the Snow Realm would come to fetch them, or that Marquis Liu Yin would find a way to send them back. Us weak ones, the Snow Realm probably doesn't care about us, right? Have I struggled in vain for so long? Can't I go back? Only a few of my kin still live, this vengeance, I will most definitely seek. The 49,000 true gods of void space had varying thoughts. As one of the Land of Origin's top 10 sinners, the ancestral god of the Snow Realm ruled his territory with extreme cruelty. Countless beings harbored resentment against him. See a novel_fire. .et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. But the ancestral god of the Snow Realm didn't care. His disciples, once they reached the eternal true god level, would be granted a drop of his blood to inherit the bloodline of blood. Upon absorbing this drop of blood, they would naturally become loyal, never to betray. Thus, in the Snow Realm, while there may be much grievance and resentment at the lower levels, the middle and upper echelons were absolutely loyal. Asterisk. Luo Feng's seemingly casual act changed the fate of the 49,000 true gods of void space, changing the destiny of billions of creatures in the Fengyi district. I didn't expect that Luo he had already reached the primal chaos realm. From the side of the Flame Wind Pavilion, Emperor Chu Yu and the Deputy Pavilion Master, watching this scene, were in high spirits. Now I can take Luo he back to the Flame Wind ancient country with me, thought Emperor Chu Yu. Emperor Chu Yu then transmitted his voice from afar. Luo he, now that we have both stepped into the primal chaos realm, once the matters here are settled, we can return to the Flame Wind ancient country. Remember, Don't kill Liu Yinyang at all costs. Publicly killing Liu Yinyang while the two armies are in stalemate. Marquis Liu Yin, for the sake of face, will surely make a move against you. Luo Feng heard Emperor Chu Yu's transmission, and looked at Liu Yinyang in the palm of his hand. Knowing Marquis Liu Yin's nature, with many sons and daughters, the death of one Liu Yinyang would not be too unbearable. But in a standoff between two armies, with someone from the primal chaos realm taking action, a matter of face, Marquis Liu Yin could not tolerate it. Lord Luo He, my father is Marquis Liu Yin, my master is the ancestral god of the Snow Realm, please forgive my previous disrespect and spare my life, Liu Yinyang pleaded for mercy. He guessed that a newly advanced primal chaos realm cultivator wouldn't dare to kill him publicly. But he didn't dare to bet. Having spent so much time in the Snow Realm, he was accustomed to the madness there. Cultivators of the Snow Realm acted unbridled, killing without a second thought. Background. It's only useful if you value it. Brother Luo He, you are not yet a guest elder of my flame-wind ancient country. Even if you were, my flame-wind ancient country does not intervene in conflicts between guest elders. After all, many emperor-level beings at the border kingdoms are guest elders of my flame-wind ancient country. They often fight among themselves, and we do not intervene. Emperor Chu Yu perceived something wrong and immediately transmitted, even the disciples of emperors perish in these external conflicts. As long as it's a fight on the same level, the flame-wind ancient country does not interfere. Once you kill Liu Yinyang, and Marquis Liu Yin flies into a rage. Being from the imperial clan of the flame-wind ancient country, he wouldn't dare touch me, but I can't stop him either. Emperor Chu Yu transmitted his advice. He valued Luo Feng highly for his loyalty and sense of righteousness, as well as his hate for evil. But it was precisely because of this hate for evil that Emperor Chu Yu worried that Luo Feng might act impulsively and kill Liu Yinyang. He has instantly killed 36 eternal true gods, yet he merely captured Liu Yinyang alive, the deputy pavilion master remarked. This Luo He is most likely not a rash person. I advised him, yet he didn't agree to spare Liu Yinyang. I always feel that something is wrong, said Emperor Chu Yu. For a minor eternal true god, it's not worth putting oneself in jeopardy. As Emperor Chu Yu advised, the avatar of Marquis of Zhujiang was also attempting to persuade through transmission, younger brother Luo He, congratulations on breaking through to the primal chaos realm. But the gap between beings of the primal chaos realm is vast. This era, I invited friends from various sides, but still no help came. You, a newly ascended primal chaos realm being, needn't involve yourself. I will confront Marquis Liu Yin and settle this with a victory or defeat. If I lose, I'll also give up my territory. You're giving up, Marquis of Zhujiang, transmitted Luo Feng. 8 or 9 out of 10. I won't be able to hold on to this territory, the avatar of Marquis of Zhujiang transmitted back. You, as a new primal chaos realm cultivator, need time to grow steadily. Not to meddle in this now. Luo Feng understood. Luo Feng then looked towards the distant sky. In the sky, a strand of blood-red flame condensed, forming a dark red armored figure. This dark red armored figure looked towards Luo Feng. Release my child, hand over the envoy of the Snow Realm, and offer up another 10 billion cosmic sand to the Snow Realm as compensation, the dark red armored figure spoke indifferently. Then I will spare you, giving you, a newly ascended primal chaos realm being, a chance to live. Otherwise, if I deal with you, it would not be considered bullying the weak. The dark red armored figure kept his gaze on Luo Feng. Are you that confident? Luo Feng looked at him. Those who seek death, feel free to make your move, the dark red armored figure said coldly, watching the scene. Luo Feng nodded slightly, exerting force with his finger. Thud. No, young Master Yang was filled with horror, but was still crushed to pieces, turning to ash. This scene stunned Marquis of Zhujiang and Emperor Chu Yu. Even the distant dark red armored figure's expression changed subtly. Come then, I want to see how exactly I'm seeking my own death. Luo Feng looked at the dark red armored figure. This is serious trouble. At the Flame Wind Pavilion, both Emperor Chu Yu and the Deputy Pavilion Master were trembling in their hearts. In the entire world, only the godly kings and those in the primal chaos realm were considered high-level beings, and every existence at the pinnacle of primal chaos was not to be trifled with. Even the imperial clansmen of the Flame Wind ancient country wouldn't provoke them without good cause. Because the existence at the pinnacle of primal chaos, their spiritual will was at least at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm, and might even be at the godly king's will. Once they used the reincarnation secret art, they could be reborn with their complete memories intact. Who would dare to cause trouble relying on their background against such beings? If pushed too far, they would simply kill you. After killing, they could just reincarnate. No matter how big your background, you can't find the reincarnated identity of the other party. Moreover, there was an unspoken agreement in the land of origin: when those in the primal chaos realm clash, the god kings wouldn't intervene easily without sufficient reason. Therefore, outside of the two ancient countries, the pinnacle of primal chaos was already the most powerful deterrent under normal circumstances. We can't help him, the Deputy Pavilion Master shook his head. This Luo, he is too reckless. When his strength was weak, why did he insist on acting on impulse? Perhaps he thought he could protect himself. Emperor Chu Yu frowned. But the power of an existence at the pinnacle of primal chaos is terrifying indeed, far stronger than those newly advanced to the primal chaos realm. This is bad. At the city owner's mansion, General Yue Wu's facial expression slightly changed. Even for just a little face, Marquis Liu Yin will have to take action, said General Yong Hu at his side. I'm worried that Marquis Liu Yin will take out his wrath on the entire Huyang city, General Yue Wu said. Yong Hu looked at Yue Wu in surprise. General Yue Wu continued, Marquis Liu Yin is called the catastrophe of the world. Normally, when he takes action, it represents the coming of a catastrophe. And given the great humiliation this time, his actions will only be more ruthless. Don't worry, my master has bestowed upon me a life-saving treasure, and I will take you away when the time comes, General Yue Wu sighed. But I cannot protect the whole Huyang city. Upon hearing this, Yong Hu immediately nodded. He was also touched. They were all disciples of the monarch of Yu country. But among the disciples of the monarch of Yu country, Yue Wu was treated 10 times better than them, even having a life-saving treasure. Did Master kill Liu Yinyang? So Marquis Liu Yin is going to make a move. Moyu Qingyang was very worried about her master, and couldn't help but look towards Morosa. Don't panic, Morosa comforted, looking up. Over this period, Luo Feng had sparred with him many times. He was the one who knew his master's strength best. The dark red armored figure in the sky looked at Luo Feng with a cold gaze. Good, I hope when the time comes for you to die, you're still as confident. Having said that, this incarnation dissipated into the air, vanishing between heaven and earth. Luo Feng turned his head to look towards the distant Heart Shadow sect base. Boom! A terrifying and oppressive aura had exploded from the Heart Shadow sect base. See a thnovlaya.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The true body of Marquis Liu Yin had already arrived here with the help of the space-time treasure bestowed upon the Heart Shadow sect. His here, Luo Feng muttered as he watched. His here, Emperor Chu Yu, the Deputy Pavilion Master, Marquis of Zhujiang, and the others all took notice of the terrifying aura erupting from the Heart Shadow sect base, an aura that made their hearts tremble. Marquis Liu Yin stood at the Heart Shadow sect base, looking up at Luo Feng from a distance. Luo Feng also looked at him. Courageous, Marquis Liu Yin said softly. Suddenly, he vanished into thin air. And in an instant, the entire sky darkened, followed by the spread of endless blood fire that seemed like blood vessels extending across the sky. What's this? What's happening to the sky? Countless cultivators in Huyang City were looking at the sky in horror, as the blood fire spread like veins across the entire sky, turning it completely dark red. Under the shadow of the dark red sky, a sense of calamity spread, even making the cultivators feel as if death was approaching. At the Heart Shadow sect, master of the Heart Shadow sect and the 18 elders looked up at this sight. When the Marquis bestowed the space-time treasure to me, it was for me to arrive instantly, to deal with Marquis of Zhujiang, the master of the Heart Shadow sect said as he watched. Who would have thought that this Luo he would seek death by offending the Marquis? Could this Luo he be relying on something, that he dares to be so arrogant? An elder spoke up. Among the primal chaos overlords, those who can be called pinnacle of primal chaos are few and far between. This Marquis Liu Yin is in existence on par with Great Saint Zhu Yuan. How could there possibly be a newly advanced primal chaos realm being capable of withstanding him? Elder Heart Eye shook his head. The Heart Shadow sect had fallen due to Great Saint Zhu Yuan. Elder Heart Eye and the others had also carefully understood the differences between those in the primal chaos realm, and knew the terror of ones like Great Saint Zhu Yuan and Marquis Liu Yin. Marquis Liu Yin only asked him to hand over the envoy of the Snow Realm and to compensate 10 billion cosmic sand, he said. Those in the primal chaos realm have strong life-saving capabilities. Now let's see how good Luo his life-saving secret technique is, they said. The Heart Shadow sect watched on. They could only hide far away from such a high-level confrontation. Previously, too, they had watched from a distance as Great Saint Zhu Yuan fought against the Heart Shadow sect's 3 primal chaos realm beings. Using the sect's formation, in the end, the formation was broken, 1 died and 2 fled. Luo Feng looked at the dark red sky, which extended for billions of miles, with the aura of calamity spreading far and wide. Suddenly, a giant face appeared in the dark red sky. That was the face of Marquis Liu Yin. This is my world. Can your life-saving secret technique escape from my world? The giant face looked at Luo Feng. As for reincarnation, you, a newly advanced primal chaos being, can you awaken your memories after reincarnation? Only those with godly kings can remain fully aware, clear-headed even as a fetus. The primal chaos pinnacle will beings, once reincarnated, have an uncertain time for awakening memories. It could happen in youth, or even when one is a true god of void space, or an eternal true god. If one dies again without awakening memories, then that death is truly final. Marquis Liu Yin, did you ask my permission before you made your move? A voice rang out. Marquis of Zhujiang appeared out of nowhere above Huyang City, standing beside Luo Feng. He looked up at the dark red sky. Vaz tilde tilde tilde. The void vibrated suddenly, its ripples covering the dark red sky, making the entire sky blurry. Luo He, take the chance to get away, while I hold off Marquis Liu Yin. Marquis of Zhujiang glanced at Luo Feng and immediately sent a telepathic message. Take your friend and leave quickly. I won't be able to hold off Marquis Liu Yin for long. With Marquis Liu Yin in a rage, I fear he might take it out on the entire Huyang city. Of course, if I end up winning, that would be the best, the Marquis of Zhujiang chuckled, then completely vanished as he merged into the void. Knowing full well that his chances of victory were slim, the Marquis of Zhujiang still wanted to fight, and settle the battle once and for all. Who's stronger? Who's weaker? Only a fight would tell. Boom tilde tilde tilde. In the vast and mighty Bloodfire world, its power was terrifying, but there was also an invisible layer of void ripples covering the Bloodfire world, suppressing it. Marquis of Zhujiang, you think you can stop me? Suddenly, millions of Marquis Liu Yin's Bloodfire figures appeared, each one swinging out a blade of Bloodfire light, which instantly tore through the void ripples. Extinguish. With a cold shout, suddenly a net of void appeared in the world, its dense web of void instantly slicing through the millions of Marquis Liu Yin figures, shredding them all into pieces. Luo Feng watched all this unfold. In terms of realm, they are both above me. Luo Feng realized the gap between them as he observed their fight. In terms of realm, the moves of both Marquis Liu Yin and Marquis of Zhujiang were incredibly mysterious, far more powerful than his own straightforward techniques, to the point where he couldn't even pinpoint their true bodies. As strength increases, it's not just the power that grows immensely, but the techniques also become more inconceivable, Luo Feng observed carefully. Although he had gathered a lot of information about the primal chaos realm, it was still not as good as witnessing it with his own eyes. Since he became a creature of the primal chaos realm, the only one he had fought with was Morosa. Luo He, why aren't you leaving? Emperor Chu Yu, the master of the Flame Wind Pavilion, urgently sent a telepathic message. Now that the Marquis of Zhujiang is holding the other off, you must leave immediately. Let me gauge the situation first, Luo Feng responded, watching intently. You? I really don't understand why you're so confident. Here is the most detailed information on Marquis Liu Yin. Emperor Chu Yu, unable to persuade him, immediately sent a detailed dossier. Marquis Liu Yin is known as the disaster of the world. At this moment, his true body is not any physical form, but that bloodfire world itself. The world is him, and he is the world. Luo Feng reviewed the information on Marquis Liu Yin. The information provided by Emperor Chu Yu was extremely detailed, even including many recorded battle scenes. Luo Feng was too poor to afford detailed information on such top-tier beings of the primal chaos. Thank you, Pavilion Master, Luo Feng sent his thanks through telepathy. Luo He, are you not leaving? I can't hold him off any longer. The Marquis of Zhujiang sent an urgent telepathic message. Thud 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 tilde tilde tilde. The whole bloodfire world seemed to boil, with annihilation everywhere, and the Marquis of Zhujiang, hidden within the void, found it increasingly difficult to withstand as he burned his divine power. Marquis of Zhujiang, if you can't hold out, then let me take over, Luo Feng said with a slight smile. Take over, the concealed Marquis of Zhujiang was shocked. All eyes were on Luo Feng as he looked up at the endless bloodfire world. Boom rumble tilde tilde tilde. A rolling torrent of silver river suddenly swept across a vast expanse. Its extent was so grand that it was in no way inferior to the bloodfire world itself. All cultivators in Huyang City had noticed that a silver river flowed over every road and every residential area, providing perfect protection for Huyang City, preventing any cultivator from being harmed by the bloodfire world. I have cultivated 15 kinds of transformation methods, but when it comes to large-scale maneuvers, the galaxy transformation method is still what I'm best at, thought Luo Feng. During this era, he had also visited the Primal Chaos Layer and captured some Primal Chaos Layer creatures. Thus he upgraded his transformation methods to 15 kinds. However, Luo Feng only used 5 kinds of transformation methods on himself. Rise! At the thought of Luo Feng, myriad vast silver blade lights began to levitate, a total of 8,000 blade lights suspended at the same time. The Marquis Liu Yin, transformed into the endless bloodfire world, watched this scene with confusion, because these 8,000 blade lights looked mighty, but there was no burning of divine power. Luo Feng looked up at the sky. The 8,000 galaxy blade lights were simultaneously executing the blade technique Blade River Slash. It was a move that Luo Feng had created as his realm gradually improved. The Blade River Slash pursued simplicity and purity, with Luo Feng removing some intricate variations, even eliminating the targeting of space itself, to seek only the most fundamental power. As a result, Blade River Slash was much less taxing on the heart force. Moreover, after the perfect divine body reached its limits of growth, nurtured by the physical body, his soul grew larger, enabling him to divide his attention among even more blade lights. With these improvements, Luo Feng was able to cast 8,000 blade lights with but a single thought. Rumble rumble tilde 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 tilde. Even without targeting space, maintaining only the purest power. As the 8,000 blade lights erupted at once, layer after layer of space instantly shattered into pieces, utterly defenseless. Wherever the blade lights enveloped, everything was annihilated, everything returned to primal chaos. With the blade lights rampaging, all the layers of space were crushed, even touching the outermost membrane of the entire world. This layer of membrane was the braided cage membrane. Under the rampaging of the 8,000 blade lights, this braided cage membrane remained incredibly tenacious and unshakable, purely relying on power to break through the braided cage. Such force was still far from sufficient. Whether it was Marquis of Zhujiang, Emperor Chu Yu, or Marquis Liu Yin who faced the devastating 8,000 blade lights, they were all astonished. The 8,000 blade lights ravaged an area of hundreds of billions of kilometers, shattering all layers of space down to the final braided cage membrane. Even the blood-fire world was partly destroyed in an instant. Within this area, unless one could merge with the braided cage membrane, there was no escape. One could only withstand this strike head-on. I'm actually injured. Since Marquis Liu Yin had been able to turn into the blood-fire world, it had been a long time since he was injured. You are not a newly advanced primal chaos cultivator. As the 8,000 blade lights converged and the blood-fire world spread again, a giant face looked at Luo Feng. You possess the strength of the pinnacle of primal chaos realm. Dressed in a black robe, stepping on the endless silver river, Luo Feng looked up at the blood-fire world. Who told you that I am a newly advanced primal chaos cultivator? Marquis Liu Yin, I secluded myself in Huyang City, and you were the one who provoked me. This video will end here.